Ooh, ooh, ooh. WDBFradio.com. WDBFradio.com.
Who wrote the book out loud? Tell me, who wrote the book of love?
Welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf with your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein. Steve the Bookman Eisenstein has been involved in buying, selling, and appraisals of rare books since 1968. This show has been designed with making money for the listeners in mind. More people know the value of coins, stamps, objects of art, and collectibles they do not own than the values of the books in their home library shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Welcome back, book lovers. Erik Lemkule is my guest today, and if you have questions for him on air right now, you can reach him at 888-575-4394. That's 888-575. Oh, I'm stopping right here. Hi, how are you?
Do you want to say your name?
Well, who are you? You have to be Erik's daughter.
I'm
Petrea. And what's your name?
She says she's Petrea.
Petrea. Very nice to meet you, young lady. Do you have a favorite book or hobby? Do you collect anything?
But I collect all my treasures.
All of her treasures.
All your treasures. What's your favorite treasure?
Shoes.
She's got shark teeth.
Shark's teeth. Wow. Yep. Megalodons or the big ones or the little ones?
The big ones and the little ones.
The big ones and little ones.
Big ones and little ones.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember once asking a young person at a book fair, do you prefer Dickens in parts or the first editions? And he said parts.
I got a lot of animals.
She got a lot of stuffed animals. Her animals.
Oh, wow. What's your favorite stuffed animal?
Who's your favorite?
But I got 2 kitties and
3. Are they jealous of each other?
She's got 3 stuffed cats, but her main stuffed animal is a little monkey called George.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
George the monkey.
Do you want to go eat breakfast?
Nope.
No.
I'm going to join you. That's all right. You can stay with us.
Yeah.
I got it. Let me bring it back a little bit. I was asking you saw my note on the message board?
Yes.
Okay, we can go there?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. So one of the things that we talk about a lot on this show, but I really don't go into a lot of detail on it, is what we call wall hangers. Those old rifles and swords, let's go pre-1898, so we're in total legal land. Any weapon that's a firearm that you have that's before 1898, you can legally sell. Anything after 1898, it's a different story. Yep. So I'm not looking so much for the manufacturers. Those I could do blindfolded in my sleep. But when it, firearms. But when it comes to edged weapons,
oh, sure.
What is some of the better names? Provenance aside, this was a famous sword by this general, whatever, what is some of the manufacturer names that you would want to see on some of these swords that might be hanging on the wall in somebody's Civil War era home?
Sure. Well, I do know that if I were to break down for a specific name and maker, I have a sword guy who I'd go and say, this is what I'd send him. But what I'd look for ones to say that this is something that's worth checking into is anything that is Confederate, anything that is pre-Civil War. So anything that has enough indications that it's from, are you excited about that? Pre-Civil War, anything that's from Revolutionary War before that. Right now, currently, because I know that you're talking about American swords, my deep research hole right now is actually looking into the Japanese swords, because they are, and I think I mentioned this last time, was that especially the World War II Japanese swords, just on a whole, I always get a Japanese World War II or World War I sword checked out, because Those are swords that people can get at auction, get at antique stores. You see them, and your listeners will see those swords out there. And I would suggest, as long as the price isn't too much, just a couple $100s, I'd try and buy it, because it's definitely worth that. And that very well could be a sword that dates all the way back to the 1400s. And the only way to tell is, and this is for Americans, the only way to tell is you have to take the blade completely out of the handle, and then you have to do the difficult part, which is read Japanese, because there will be Japanese characters in the hilt that'll say, this is what it is. And I have found that the AI programs are helping me translate the Japanese characters to be able to say, are these vintage swords or not? Yeah.
Well, I'm embarrassed. I had to, when I was forming the question, I had the name in my head. Not the Tanto, that's the other one. What's the Suba, what's the, like, okay, here's the sword, and then you got that round piece of metal, the handguard, but there's a Suba. Is that called a Suba?
You mean the like the actual piece of the sword?
Yeah, no, okay. You got the sword vertically, but around the sword, where your hand would go and it stops
like the guard.
it.
Yeah,
the guard. But what is that called? A Suba?
It's got a specific Japanese name. I actually have. I was working on my Japanese sword document earlier, but it's called the. Oh, let me give me 2 seconds.
Okay. No, I'm pretty sure it's Suba. The Suba alone, if it's the right make, if that's the right piece, that round metal piece that goes, so the guard, it's the hand guard, but it's it's usually decorative, with symbols on it. It's a flat round piece of metal that could be decorated. I think it's the Suba. When you said before, I'm just saying that in support of it, the sword could be in lousy condition, but if the Suba is by a noted maker, it makes a whole difference in it.
Yes, and you're right. Yeah, I did look it up. It is the Suba.
Okay,
and you're absolutely right. I have seen some Subas, just the Suba.
Yeah,
$400 or $500. Just for that, and that's a relatively easy one.
Yeah,
you get your kitties.
Oh wow!
So the daughter
looks like the advertisement for a movie I just saw the advertisement for.
Is
Kiki? That? What's that? Who is that? Is that Hello Kitty?
This is Kiki.
Oh. Kiki.
Yep.
Wow.
And this is Sophie.
Hey, Sophie.
And this is the new one for Halloween. This is Salem. Go ahead, hold them up.
Salem. Wow. Who named them? Did you make up the names for them?
Did you name them?
Yep.
I
named them Salem.
Yep.
This name?
Sophie.
And what is that one name?
Does she have a thing that you have on display in the house, whether it's from time to time or permanently, that she's most fascinated by?
Playing in the rain.
She likes playing in the rain.
Oh wow,
go, sweetie.
That's later in life. Romantic walks in the rain on the beach. But going back to my original question, is there anything, and whatever it is there something that she stares at from time to time and fascinated by?
Yes, she loves the crystals. And I think I told you this story, but this is a good story for the viewers who are new. I haven't heard it yet, but there was one time where she has a little crystal collection, and these crystals are relatively small, size of dimes and quarters and stuff. Nothing too valuable, but they're colorful and sparkly, and she loves them. And she had them all lined up on her windowsill so that they'd catch the light coming in.
Wow.
She was very proud of that. And she said, Daddy, come and look. I said, okay. So we go and I look and I see him. Oh, that I do the dad thing. That's so nice, sweetie. That's so wonderful. And then I look over at her closet and notice there's a pile of other crystals that are just in a pile in her closet. And I say, oh, sweetie, what are these on the windowsill? And she said, oh, this is my collection. I said, well, that's great. Well, then what are these over in your closet? And she said, oh, no, Daddy, that's my inventory.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So she's learning from her father there. So.
It's funny when you said that. The first thing I thought you were going to tell me one of the crystals was caught by the sunlight and started to burn a piece of paper across the room.
Oh man!
No, I'm only.
Well, you know the story of the crystal ball and how they're haunted by spirits, right? So
So,
there's a legend that says that there's crystal balls are cursed by evil spirits, and
uh,
they're used by witches, and they have evil intent and all this stuff. And the reason they thought that is because the devil would strike down the houses of the people who had crystal balls. And they
uh-huh.
come to realize that these crystal balls, the reason that they were burning people's houses down is they would catch sunlight and they'd focus it just like a magnifying glass to a pinpoint, and it'd start a fire and it'd burn houses down. And that
Oh,
also led to the idea that when you have a crystal ball, you put a shroud over it. And that's
huh.
so that to keep the souls from getting out. But really, it's so that light doesn't get in and it doesn't burn your house down.
Okay.
Yep.
I gotta go. You talked about crystals, and you know me, my mind goes into weird places. Indiana Jones, they did this, story, the crystal skulls and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Though that obviously is fiction. But are there any crystal skulls in history that have mystery for real?
Yes. Yes, there are the crystal skulls that are so the crystal skulls, they are real, and they are there's only been maybe 10 or so discovered, I believe. They're the Mitchell Hedges skulls, and the Mitchell Hedges skulls, they are carved from one single piece of quartz crystal, and the mystery behind them is how did they do it? And because it seems to be too uniform for the tools of the day, for stone tools and grinding instruments and that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah, like the
Um,
gemologist tools.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
And there are several of them. There are a couple, like people think there's only one, but there's a couple of them, and they all have different sizes. I think the biggest one is about the size of a real human skull, and it has a detachable lower jaw. And so it's actually two pieces that come together. I actually have one of the Mitchell Hedges skulls in my collection. It's one of the smaller ones. It's only about yayish big, but it was featured in a museum in Italy, and it came its way to the United States. It stayed at a university in the United States for a while. Then it was acquired by a friend of mine who works with the university, and then a friend of mine said, "Hey, you seem like a kind of guy who'd appreciate this," and so I was able to get it. So I have one of them in my personal collection. Um, and it
What's
is
the, Go ahead.
Oh no,
Oh, go ahead.
it's just so cool to have something like that sitting on my shelf, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. What are some of the stories that they attribute to these skulls? Yes, they can, like the pyramids, they made them and we couldn't do it today with what we
Yep,
have.
yep,
So there's a skull that can't be duplicated today. It's
yep,
obviously not a hoax.
yep.
What are some of the attributing stories, if there are any, that
Oh
are
yeah.
attached to those?
Oh yeah, those they are. My favorite story is that they channel the energies of a spiritual realm, and the way that it is told in the original language is that these skulls were kind of like a gateway into the other side. If it's the How do I say this? Have you seen the TV show, the Netflix show, Stranger Things? Have you seen that?
Yeah, not on Netflix, but I can, what, Ralph Edwards, Strange Stuff, something like
The
that.
yeah the
Yeah,
Stranger
yeah.
Things. Yep, Stranger Things. They have a parallel dimension that's exactly right on top of ours, like an alternate reality that exists right on top of where we are, except their reality is darker and more evil, and it's kind of the opposite side of our world, which is relatively bright and happy and full of life, where this other one is dark and dreary and full of death. And in the series anyway, they have little portals that they can go through to get to one side or the other. And the crystal skulls were seen as a conduit between those. So the crystal skulls, the Mayans and the Aztecs believed in this afterlife, that you had to have certain things done or have certain abilities or attributes in life to aid you in the afterlife, unless you had some of these crystal skulls that could actually act as a communication device between the two realms. And so, like, one of the things that I read was that they were trying to figure out what happened to did animals have a soul? That was, you've heard the Catholic idea.
Mhm.
So the Aztecs and Mayans had a similar idea of like, well, humans have souls, but what does the rest of nature have? Do they have souls or not? And one of the ideas was that in life, you were supposed to be good to animals because if you weren't good to animals, then when you went to the afterlife, there was a test that you had to undergo. And the only way to get through this test was with the aid of animals that you had when experiences with when you were alive. So if you were nice to your animals, then these animals would meet you in the afterlife and guide you through to the next steps. But if you abused animals, if you were mean to them, then these animals would not help you, and your soul would just be forced to wander eternally and never actually find any conclusion.
Based on what we spend on Chewy, I'm going to heaven and I'll have a lot of guys. I'll tell you that. But a question based on when you started it. What was the original language that this was translated from?
Oh, there was it's the Mayan hieroglyphics.
Come back. We'll come back with that answer
Sure.
after a break. Perfect timing. We'll be
Sure,
back
sure.
after these commercial words.
Yeah.
Bookians, we are engaged in a really, really interesting, entertaining, informative conversation with Erik Lemkule, as always. You can reach Erik off air by telephone at area code 612 804 2647. That's 612 804 2647. Or on email, you can reach him at Erik, Erik, at professorandcodus.com. Professor spells like professor, and CODUS, ENCHODUS, all one word. Professorandcodus.com. If you have oddball antiquities or things that have been baffling you, for a long time, give Erik a call. You never know what his knowledge might open up for you and answer the mystery of what you have. So we left off with the question, what language first described the crystal skull's purposes? Let me compound that question. What would the price range be for like the skull that you have up to some of the larger ones, if per se some hitherto unknown copy came out on the market? What kind of numbers are we looking for? And do you think there are unknown copies out there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There, I truly believe that. Because like the other thing is because when we're talking about the crystal skulls, this isn't crystal like people would think in the antique world, whether it's leaded glass or something. These are literal quartz crystals that were carved in this way. And quartz crystals can be clear quartz crystals, like some of the bigger skull, the higher end ones are clear quartz. Whereas you get to the smaller ones, kind of the quote unquote low grade ones, they're still made out of quartz crystal, but it'll be a little bit more cloudy. It'll be kind of milky. It'll be not quite as visually stunning as some other ones are. So like the one that I have is one of those lower grade ones, because as far as I'm aware, the higher grade ones that are real, that are confirmed to be real, they're still in museums. They're active displays. They're not, really available for public purchase. The lower grade ones, I would say that the minimum buy-in would be $5,000-$6,000 for the smallest little one. It'd be about, so for mine that would be in the 7 to 10,000 ish range, and then going on up. When you're talking about museum pieces, at that point it's, well, how much do you want to pay for it? And people ask me all the time. They say, and if your listeners need help with determining evaluation, right, they can definitely reach out to me. But what I tell people, this is your free bit of advice, is that just remember that you are the market. I tell people, say, well, we listen to the market. And I say, well, what does that mean? Like, what is the market? Well, the market is how badly do you want it? Because every item, either as a reseller, as a business, or as just a private collector, has intrinsic value to you. At a certain point, it's like, would I rather have $500 or would I rather have the item? And for me, it became really apparent when I became a businessman, as you know, after being a collector for so long, because I thought I'm going to sell this thing and I'm going to make $500 off of selling it and it's going to be great. What am I going to do with that $500? I'd say, you know what? I'd probably turn around and buy whatever the thing was that I just sold, because I'd rather have that. But at a certain point, the money becomes more. It's like, well, if I had, if I'm making $2,000 or something really, really big on a big item, I'm thinking, okay, I think I'd rather have that to pay bills or whatever. But to a certain level, what is something worth? Remember, you are the market. It's worth whatever you say it is. Don't let somebody bully you into saying, oh, well, it's only worth this much. Well, no, if you think it's worth $200, then stick with it. If you think it's worth $1,000, then stick with it. And with those crystal skulls, there's definitely some people out there who are going to be thinking it's in the hundreds of thousands, if not dollars.
Put your price on it. Okay, here's my price. Don't expect to get it if you resell it, but here's my price.
There you go.
So, all right, back over that way. I can't get it right now, but I'm going to leave you with a question and stand up. I have a mineral specimen of quartz. I'm curious what your opinion of it is.
Sure.
I'll tell you the story about it after we hear your opinion. I'm doing that for a reason. But here's another one just to play with. Okay, the crystal skulls. I make an analogy. The Necronomicon and other books that were never published or existed. Are there more things like the crystal skulls, in objects, these objects that people are looking for that were mentioned in a book but don't exist, or maybe they think they do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
pick up on that.
Okay, so this is great. I love this. And because this is remember, I'm in the buying phase. So
okay.
All about what's available right now. So the thing that I'm looking for is something called the cephalum plant. I believe I'm saying that right. The cephalum plant. Have you heard of this?
No.
So the cephalum plant is a plant that has gone extinct in sometime the 1st century. So 100 years, 200 years, that was when it went extinct. And the reason it went extinct is because the Roman Empire identified this plant, and this plant was said to have just amazing properties, and it was incredibly valuable. So this plant worked as a natural birth control for women. It had a variety of medicinal purposes. It kind of had this miracle drug, if you will, effect of like it could cure anything. And there was time where Caesar even had stores of it. He said that he was to have 1,100 pounds of the plant on hand at all times. That was one of the rules that he had. This plant was so important to the Romans that they even put it on the back of their money, that there's some coins out there, some Greek and Roman coins that have this plant depicted on the reverse side of the coin. And the thing what happened was that the plant can only be grown in a coastal region off of the Mediterranean Ocean, kind of by Libya area. And this plant went extinct because the Romans harvested it into oblivion. And the very last specimen, because they when the farmers picked up the last specimen, the last hope of maybe we can put the cuttings of the root or the seed or maybe we can save it. They were like, this was it. And so they tracked it all the way. And the very last evidence of it was the last plant was delivered to Nero, and Nero then ate it, and that was the end of the plant. So this legendary plant is now gone, and the only references that we have to its existence is texts and coins and stuff that date back to the 1st century CE. So I've been on the hunt to try to find Roman coins, Greek coins, different pieces of ephemera, books, depictions, drawings of this plant, because it's kind of this mystical realm where to us we're thinking, wow, this plant, like the Romans got so much use out of it with Roman technology. Imagine if it was around today, we could cure everything. Like that's kind of the romantic idea of it.
I wonder if they'll ever find something like that in the deeper regions of the Amazon and
they might.
Other places. Let's see, what is 34? I'm gonna put my headset down for a second. I'm going to show you a mineral specimen.
Awesome. So he's getting a mineral specimen, and I can't wait to see it because I love minerals. And it's a quartz specimen, so I'm wondering
Hold
which type of quartz. Is it the rose quartz? Obviously, for the pink rose quartz, is it going to be the clear quartz? What kind of inclusions are there? These are the things that I look for as a dealer to try to see like what's the marketability behind these quartz specimens. So Steve is going to come out and show me this amazing mineral specimen, I'm sure. It is going to be billions of dollars and we'll retire everybody right here with this one fell swoop.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. This is the bottom.
Yep.
Some of it's clear, some of it's milky, and it's heavy. It's got to be 25 pounds, if not
Wow. Okay.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
We
Well,
got this. I'm not going to mention a price. I'm
okay.
just going to say it was like this. It was North Carolina.
Yep.
It was somewhere a summer in the 1990s when we were doing our drive to nowhere until we ran out of time or money.
Yep.
I see this thing on a table and there's a sign on it with an X on the first price and a new
Oh,
price on it. I'm seeing out of the corner of my Edie's over to my left somewhere moving towards it. Some guy is looking at it. I could feel him and I beat him to it. I said,
yep.
mine.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
What do you think that would sell for today? What would the retail on it be?
Well, I'll tell you this: that when you first brought it up, I thought to myself. At first, I thought it looks like Colombian quartz, but then when you showed me the bottom, I went, well, it might be either American Southwest or somewhere in the North or South Carolina region. And then you said North Carolina, and I thought, aha, there we go. So I'm going to assume that it was mined in North Carolina. So I'm also going to assume because the camera quality, you can't always tell
Yeah, yeah.
that the
And
tips.
it's dusty. It's dusty as
Oh,
shit.
dust is fine.
Yeah.
Dust, it's the tips. That's the thing. Like tips are
The,
something that can make it to be, and if they're pointy like that, the retail value for something like that on the high end would
mhm.
probably like $200-ish, something around there.
Okay.
It's not going to be super duper valuable, but just because quartz, and this is something for everybody out there, quartz is one of the most, actually, no, quartz is the most common element mineral that is out there. And the reason is because like amethyst is just purple quartz and
Quartz, yeah.
citrine is just yellow quartz. And all these different types of other minerals are just quartz in disguise. So quartz is very, very common, but quartz has an appeal. So that quartz specimen, a larger one, I mean, I could see a dealer maybe trying to get greedy with it and trying to get like $400 or $500, but unless it's got pure clarity or it's got a really interesting inclusion of like some
Mhm.
black tourmaline or some other mineral growing through it, it's only going to be probably a couple $100 on
Yeah.
the higher end.
Yeah, okay. We paid $10 for it.
See,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
and and what that was is, and you made a great deal because a lot of people realize, and this is something that anybody who's a rock and mineral person out there will know exactly what I'm going to say. Rocks and minerals are pretty, they're shiny, they can be fragile, they can be colorful, but at the end of the day, they're rocks. And rocks are heavy, okay? They're hard to transport,
Yeah.
they're delicate, and all of a sudden you're like, you got something that if you're a seller, you got something you're saying, you know what? I am sick and tired of hauling this thing around. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. You know what? $10 go. Yes, I could probably milk it for $100,
Yeah.
$200, but I don't want to. I just want it gone. And that's probably what happened there. At $10, you made a great deal.
Now, if this were, what was the purple amethyst?
Yes, amethyst. Yep.
If that was amethyst, would it change the value
Oh yeah.
dramatically?
Oh yeah.
How much?
So amethyst, I'd say you're adding anywhere between 10-20% on it. And it's also
Uh,
based upon what type of amethyst. Like you got some beautiful Brazilian amethyst that is the real deep, rich purple amethyst. That's
Southwest
gonna,
region amethyst.
yeah, yep,
That's what I'm asking about. Somewhere underneath the shelf, I'm pretty sure I still have it. We went to Turtleback Mountain in New Mexico,
okay, yeah.
and I went up to the top and I started digging under big boulders, and I found something as big as this that was amethyst.
Wow, wow. Yeah, no, that would probably be more like, remember how I said maybe $200 to
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
400 or 500 on the high end of our green.
yeah.
Amethyst would probably start on that high end. I'd probably say if it was a really nice quality specimen, you could easily get $300-400 all the way up to 500-600 if you're doing retail. If you got a buyer, if it's real nice, and of course, this all goes back to condition, just like any other thing. If you got really nice points on there, you got a deep, rich color. It's a large specimen. You're going to talking way more money.
We got to hit a break. We'll be back after these commercial words.
Sure,
You
sure.
are so enjoyable. I mean, I want to tell you, man, you make it. You make the show. You really do. You
Well,
really do. You're a
Thank
phenomenal guest, Eric. Thank you.
Shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Welcome back, book lovers. The bases are loaded, and we are in the home stretch of the program. Eric, we need to have you on the show once a month or something like that.
I'd love it.
I had never said this before about a guest. If I needed a stand-in, you would be it.
Oh,
You had the
I'm
time.
flattered. I'd love it.
No, I mean that from the heart. I really do. I've never felt I felt comfortable with all my guests. I've never said that to a guest before because I never felt that comfort range.
I second that emotion.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Steve. Captain Hook. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you know, if certain things go a certain way, I'm going to be on my back for a little while down the road. So I might be saying this more. I'm saying this as serious as it gets, but possibly with cause. I'm kind of hoping nothing happens, but
Well,
anyway.
no,
Go ahead.
I
I'm
would
sorry.
really I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, I love talking to you, and I love talking about this kind of stuff. And I feel like everybody who's in this, and it's you and Captain Hook and all the listeners out there, that we're all here for a reason, because we find this interesting. And we find it interesting because we all have a same type of quirk in our personality, be it for the better or worse. We all have it, you know, and there's something fun about it. And I think that everybody responds to that in a certain way. And I like talking about it.
Likewise, and we also, you know, I think we share a gift that a lot of people don't have anymore, and that is the ability to laugh at ourselves.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
not take it so seriously, or you know, make humor out of something that's serious.
Yep.
You know,
Well, you
yeah.
know, it's also about trying to be humble. Like when I was doing a show in Malacca, Minnesota, which is about an hour or 2 hours north of Minneapolis. For those of you who don't know where Malacca is.
When you say a show, an exhibitor show or a talking show?
No, an exhibitor show. I was
Okay.
selling out there, and I had a bunch of Native American artifacts, and one of the Native American artifacts I thought was genuine, but I had a guy come in and he looked at all my stuff. He said, "Wow, this is all good stuff, but you know, there was a pot," and he said, "That pot, I don't know if that's genuine. I don't know if that's real." Now, you know, for me, I always guarantee all my items. So if you are buying something from me, it comes with 100% money back guarantee, and that's something that I offer my customers. I have only ever had it happen 3 times where customers have brought something back to me. Out of the hundreds, if not a couple thousands of sales, there's been 3 times where customers have said, you know, I don't know if this is right, and I buy it back from no questions asked, you know. But this one guy came in and he said, I don't know if that pot is legitimate. And I said, well, really, why do you think that? And he started showing me all the different things. And I was just there genuinely learning from him and said, wow, like I didn't think to look there. I didn't think to know this and that, because I'm not an expert on everything, you know, despite what I may appear, I'm not God and I don't know everything, you know? So I'm talking to him and I'm saying, you know, what do you mean? What's this? What's that? Explain this. and he says, well, you know, I enjoy talking to you because most of the time, if I say something like that to somebody, they get defensive or they start saying, no, you're an idiot and this and that. I'm real. And who do you know? You're just a puny buyer and I'm a big time seller and blah, blah. But you didn't do that. And so, and afterwards, he went and bought about $1,000 worth of stuff from me because he knew that I was an honest guy. And the reason was because I didn't take myself too seriously. I didn't, have this pompous attitude, and I'm always open to learning about something. So if I say something that's, not right, like one of my items, like that particular pot, I'm willing to learn about it. And that's how I amassed all this knowledge, was just being open to it. There's a lot of people who aren't open to it.
I agree. I mean, I came up with the slogan "Jack of all trades, master of a few" years ago,
Yep.
you know, and that's it. That's what this business is. We learn on a daily basis. When people say, "Wow, you don't read novels," no, but I read more than you do on a daily basis. I guarantee you. The only
Mm-hmm.
difference is I'm learning from it, and you're, reading somebody's fictional accounts of something. Um, I prefer the nonfiction reads to that any day of the week
Oh
because
yeah.
you learn from it. And what I have said, I'm at this 58 years, and I recognize this very, very early in the career. And that is, this is not masterable in several lifetimes. And that's just books,
Yeah.
you know. And then, what was it that led me to antiques and collectibles? Also, thank God, very early, guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm looking for this Wedgwood book, that purple book from the 1880s by Josiah Wedgwood, And by coincidence, a couple of days later, I found it, and he said, "Okay, come over to my house. I'll buy the book from you." And he taught me about Wedgwood.
Yeah.
There's this gorgeous Wedgwood collection and this free knowledge. And I said, "Man, I got to learn this about everything." I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
he said, "The
Yeah.
next time you find this book, keep it for yourself."
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm really wanting to learn more about now is like trying to nail in the value of some of the things that I have, because it's easier when you deal in something that's, well, how much is a gallon of milk? How much is a gallon of gas? It's easy.
What
But
do you
like,
have in a pile that you're not sure of the price of?
well,
We
like,
used to
like,
have a pile of books like that. I'm
oh
not
yeah.
sure how to price it, and until I do, it ain't going anywhere.
Well,
What do
yeah.
you have?
Well, like, so, and this is something interesting that I'm going to talk about, not what I do have, but what I could have had, because like this is, and this is like one of those things that haunt me as a dealer, right? So I'll just ask. So earlier this morning, actually, there was an auction, okay, and I was bidding on the phone. I was one of those people who you see in auction houses and they have somebody on the phone. I was on the other line, Yep, that was me. And one of the things that came up that I was interested in to sell at this oddities expo was a prison key that was not only just a prison key, but this prison key was fashioned by an inmate. So that an inmate had created it,
Wow.
used the prison key in his escape. And then not only was there the actual key that the prisoner made, but there were documents and letters and provenance to prove that this prisoner really did make this key, that he really did escape from the prisoner, that had his name, his prison number, the prison that was he escaped out of, all this stuff. So this was a genuine prison escape item, right? And of course they always start the auction off low at $50. Well, it's definitely worth $50. So I'm bidding and bidding and bidding, and at a certain point I have to drop out because it just gets too expensive
What did it
for
go
me
up
as a
to?
dealer. So it went up to $400. I would have had to bid 450, which means that I would have had to be all in after buyer's premium and everything, like into the 550 range.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm doing this over the phone, so I'm not gonna be able to drive and get it. I got to pay delivery, which it's a key, not that much, but it is still a factor I got to
Yeah,
consider.
yeah.
So after all in, I have a computer program that I enter everything in, right? That'll tell me, the computer will tell me this is how much you have to sell it for in order to make a profit if you bought it for this much.
Yeah, yeah.
And in order for me to make a little bit of profit, at the minimum at one of my shows, I'd have to resell it for $800. And
What?
I'm thinking, is that I'm on the phone and I'm thinking, I'm like, is that worth it or not? Is it worth it to be like, will somebody buy that for 800? I don't know, because
Yeah.
that's something that doesn't come up all the time. And to me, I was thinking, that seems high. A lot of people will come and look at it, but
You can still price an ultimate rarity out of the ballpark.
yeah, yeah,
That's the bottom line. I got a question just
sure.
because Was this R&R auctions by any chance? Or are you familiar with R&R auctions?
I am familiar with R&R
Yeah, they
auctions.
always get that weird criminal stuff.
Yep.
Al Capone's mugshot, or I
Yeah.
think they had one of the 38s, Ruby's 38 or whatever it is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they get that stuff a lot. So I was just curious. I haven't seen their auctions in a while, but that sounds like target market for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be curious to see if you ever see it going again,
Yeah.
who has it and what it goes for.
Oh yeah, well, and I will do that if there's something that I miss out on because I'm doing. There's lots of auctions that overlap. There's lots of other things I'm trying to do, and if I miss something because I'm just not able to do it or busy or whatever, um, I will call the auction house and say, "Did the guy pay?" Because
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
they don't
yeah,
pay.
yeah,
Sometimes it is a reseller who
yeah.
buys it, and I have gone around to other people who at auctions and said, "Hey, are you a reseller or a collector?" And if they say collector, I say, hey, congratulations, nice win. But if they're a reseller, I say, how much do you want for that? And if they give me a reasonable number, I'll buy it from them right at the auction and I'll pay a premium, but it's because I missed it. Like I'm not.
When you said you were going to buy it for X,
Yes.
but you had to resell it for 800 something to
Yep.
make a profit. How
Yeah.
much profit would you have made? About $200 on a
Oh,
$400 and $500 investment?
nope.
That's
So here's the one thing I will say, and I'm very, very proud of this, is I have a little computer program that I wrote. And the program, all I need to do is I need to punch in the amount that I bought it for. Okay. And then I punch in what I labeled as additional expenses. And that's my
expenses. Yeah.
handling fees, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. And that's for my company. And that pays for the tag, the labor, the whatever. Okay?
The adding paper, the paper in the adding machine, the
Exactly.
pencil wear. Yeah, I
Exactly.
know what you're saying.
Then the computer program also takes into account all of the taxes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
not only the federal tax, but state tax and city tax and county tax, which is
You
ridiculous.
got all of those?
I got all of those. I
Oh
got all of
God.
those.
Thank
So
God for Florida.
I
Yeah.
know it's terrible here in Minnesota, but yeah, no, we got all of those. And then I also have I worked in a 20% discount for a
Yeah.
customer
Oh
tagging.
wow. Yeah.
Say because if a customer comes in, they're not going to say this item's $100. They're going to say, well, would you take,
Or,
70 or something?
yeah, a dealer discount,
A dealer
professional
discount. So
trade. Yeah.
I got to account for that. So I have a 20% discount kind of built into the prices.
Uh-huh.
And I have a computer program and then I have to also account for credit card fees. Like
Oh, wow.
I gotta,
Yeah.
I
The
gotta see
minutia.
exactly
Yeah.
all these little things that are 3.5% here, 2% here, blah, 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 blah. Factoring all of that, my computer program will figure out two numbers. The first number is the best case scenario and the worst case. Best case scenario is the customer just hands me cash and that's
Mm-hmm.
it, right? The worst case scenario is that they've paid with the black Amex American Express card that charges me an extra 6% or whatever. And they've been given the 20% discount and they've been given this and that, blah, blah, whatever. So, worst case scenario. So, then I can come up with these individual numbers. So,
Mm.
I have my little program up here. There was an item that I bought for $480. I have $25 for shipping fees and whatever else you have, the little handling expenses. And so I would have to sell
We're
it.
gonna hit. I hate to cut you off. I was so engrossed I wasn't watching the clock. We got 11 seconds left. The
Oh,
bottom line is on my end of it, if I paid $500 or something all in every single expense, I'm
yep.
selling it for 12 to 1500. I'm not spending 500.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, I don't
And
like,
that's double,
yeah,
triple your money. That's the rule.
yeah.
Double or triple. Yep.
Happy book sales and buys to you all till we meet again next weekend. Ciao for now. I will be talking to you off air this week, Eric. I got
Oh,
some
sweet.
serious thoughts for you,
Oh, sweet. Hey,
for
thank
both
you.
of us.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks, Captain Hook. Love you, buddy.